When a woman allows another man's attention to linger, even when she's already in a relationship, men assume it's accidental. It's not. There's a reason she doesn't shut it down, and that reason has nothing to do with loyalty. I need to explain something that makes most men uncomfortable. Not because it's complicated, because acknowledging it means accepting that certain behaviors aren't innocent mistakes, they're choices. Let's start with the scenario itself. A woman is in a relationship. Another man shows interest. She notices. And instead of creating distance, instead of making it clear she's unavailable, she lets it continue. Maybe she doesn't encourage it directly, but she doesn't stop it either. Men usually interpret this one of two ways. Either she didn't realize what was happening, or she was too polite to shut it down. Both interpretations protect the same assumption, that her behavior was passive, unintentional, something that happened to her rather than something she allowed. But here's what that interpretation misses. A woman knows when a man is interested. She knows it before he's fully aware of it himself. The idea that she didn't notice isn't ignorance. It's a story men tell themselves because the alternative is harder to process. So if she noticed, and if she had the option to create boundaries, why didn't she? The answer men avoid is the simplest one, because it felt good. Not good in the sense of I want something to happen, good in the sense of I like that this is happening. The attention itself, separate from any outcome, carries value. And that value doesn't disappear just because she's already in a relationship. Let me be more specific about what I mean by value. When another man shows interest, it confirms something. It confirms she's still visible, still magnetic, still capable of generating that initial pull. And confirmation of that kind doesn't come from the man she's already with. He's already confirmed it. His attention is expected, predictable. It doesn't create the same charge. New attention does. Now here's the part men find difficult. She doesn't need to want anything from this other man for his attention to matter. The interest itself is the point. Because what it proves, to her, is that she still has options. Not options she's planning to take, just options that exist. And the existence of options changes how she feels about the relationship she's in. This is where men make their biggest error in interpretation. They think, if she's not planning to do anything, then the attention doesn't mean anything. But the attention already did something. It shifted the frame. It reminded her that her position isn't fixed, that the relationship she's in is a choice she's continuing to make, not a situation she's locked into. And women like being reminded of that. The man she's with doesn't benefit from this dynamic, obviously, but she does. Because it keeps her sense of value calibrated to the external market, not just to the internal reality of her relationship. And that calibration, whether she's conscious of it or not, affects how she experiences her partner. Let me explain why this happens even in relationships where she's satisfied. Attraction doesn't work on loyalty. It works on stimulation, and stimulation requires novelty. The man she's been with for months or years, no matter how attractive he is, has become familiar. Familiarity is stabilizing, but it's not stimulating. So when another man provides that stimulation through his interest, it doesn't matter that she has no intention of acting on it. The stimulation already happened, and once it's happened, something inside her registers it. Now I need to address the question men always ask at this point. Does this mean she's going to cheat? Not necessarily. Most of the time, no. But that's not the question that actually matters. The question that matters is, does allowing this attention change how she sees her relationship? And the answer to that is yes. Because here's what happens after she allows another man's interest without shutting it down. She starts comparing. Not consciously. Not in a way she'd admit to herself. But comparison happens automatically when two sources of male attention exist simultaneously. The man she's with gets measured against the feeling the new attention creates. And the new attention always has an advantage, because it hasn't been tested yet. Her boyfriend or husband is a known quantity. She's seen him tired, seen him stressed, seen him in moments where he's not performing. The other man? He's still theoretical, still just potential. And potential always looks better than reality because it hasn't had the chance to disappoint yet. This is why the attention matters even when nothing happens. It creates a psychological reference point that didn't exist before, and once that reference point exists, her current relationship gets evaluated differently. Not worse, necessarily, just differently, with more awareness that alternatives exist. Men sense this shift but can't name it. They feel her pulling back slightly, not in obvious ways, just in small recalibrations, a little less enthusiasm, a little more distance, a little more comparison between what he does and what other men might do. And when men feel that shift, they usually respond by trying harder, more attention, more effort, more reassurance, because the logic seems straightforward. If she's drifting, pull her back. But that response actually confirms what the other man's attention already suggested to her, that her position has leverage, that her interest is something her partner now has to compete for, which means the dynamic already changed. Now let me address the excuse I hear constantly. She was just being polite. Politeness doesn't explain ongoing permission. Shutting down male attention doesn't require rudeness, it requires clarity. A woman can communicate unavailability in seconds without being unkind. If she's not doing that, it's not because she doesn't know how, it's because she's choosing not to. And the reason she's choosing not to brings us back to the original point. She likes the feeling it creates. Not the man, not the situation. The feeling. The reminder that she's still generating interest outside her relationship. That her value isn't just tied to the man she's with. That she could still pull attention if she wanted to. And wanting that feeling isn't the same as wanting to act on it. But it does mean she's invested in keeping it available. Here's what makes this especially difficult for men to accept. Women don't experience guilt the same way men do when it comes to attention. A man who entertains female attention while in a relationship usually feels some level of conflict about it. Because for men, attention and intent are more closely linked. If he's allowing it, part of him is wondering what could happen. Women can separate the two more cleanly. She can enjoy the attention with zero intention of doing anything about it. And because there's no intent, she doesn't register it as a betrayal. To her, it's harmless. Just a small moment of validation that doesn't threaten anything. But it does threaten something. It threatens the frame. Because once she's allowed another man's interest to exist without consequence, she's established a pattern. And patterns repeat. The next time it happens, it'll be easier to allow, and easier after that. Not because she's planning anything, but because the boundary that should exist, the one that says, I don't entertain attention from other men, that boundary is already softer than it should be. And soft boundaries don't protect relationships, they just delay problems. Now here's the part men need to understand about prevention. This dynamic doesn't start with the other man's attention. It starts earlier. It starts when a woman stops feeling uncertainty about her partner's interest, when his attention becomes guaranteed, expected, when she knows he's fully invested and she no longer has to do anything to maintain that investment. That's when external attention starts mattering more. Because if her partner's attention is locked in, it stops creating the charge it used to. And when that charge drops, she starts noticing other sources of it. Not because she wants to leave, but because the feeling she used to get from her partner, the feeling of being pursued, of being chosen, that feeling needs to come from somewhere. And if it's not coming from him anymore, she'll find it elsewhere. Even if elsewhere just means letting another man look a little too long. The men who don't deal with this problem are the ones who never let their attention become guaranteed. They maintain just enough unpredictability that she's never fully certain where she stands. Not through games, not through withdrawal, just through the reality that his interest has conditions, that her position isn't automatic. When a woman knows she has to maintain something to keep a man's full attention, external attention matters less. Because the attention she actually cares about, her partner's, still requires effort, still creates tension, still feels like something she's earning rather than something she's entitled to. But when she stops feeling that tension, she starts looking for it elsewhere. And the first place she finds it is in the eyes of men who aren't her partner. That's the mechanism. That's what's happening when she lets another man's interest linger. She's not planning to cheat. She's not even considering it most of the time. She's just restoring a feeling that her relationship stopped providing. And once you understand that, her behavior stops looking innocent. It just looks like what it is: a recalibration. A reminder to herself that her value extends beyond the relationship she's currently in. A small assertion of leverage that costs her nothing but shifts the frame in a direction that benefits her. And the man she's with? He's usually the last one to notice it happened.